Hello and welcome to Talk of Games. Just finished England 6, Iran 2, 8 goals. That was entertaining, or was it actually? Was it actually that entertaining? That's what we're here to discuss. Well, Gonzo's here to discuss. I'll chip in now and again when I can be bothered. How are you feeling?
Better.
Has it sparked your interest in the World Cup yet?
Yeah. I mean, if we say let's say full World Cup fever is 100,
Okay.
and I don't give a crap is 0. I was at 0 earlier, so I'm sort of up to about 25. I've got to be honest with you, which is good. It is good. Yeah, I did. I think we needed to see that. I said in the well, not just to build up, but in the preview, I said we needed goals. We needed to see that. We needed something to get our teeth into. I think the tournament possibly needed that as well. And I'm sure we're going to go and discuss a lot of stuff. I think actually possibly even the tournament needed the controversy as well, because they're all football topics to talk about. You know, I think that's a good thing. You've got lots of goals to talk about. Some referee and stuff, some VAR stuff as well. So yeah, I was really pleased with what I saw, Gio.
Bellingham made it 1-0.
Well, Bellingham was just wonderful. I mean, a great cross from Luke Shaw for the goal. Glancing header, really lovely angle on the header. My word, that boy is going to be some player. And for context, because obviously look, we're a West Ham channel, I will assume that there'll be people hopefully watching this channel and watching this for the first time who are just England fans. I've been praising Bellingham for a long time, so I'm not just I'm just conscious I might say that was only Iran. I'm aware of that, but I think he's really good. He's just going to be some player. Gio, he really is like a Rolls Royce there today, really. So yeah, 1-0, really good header.
Yeah, fantastic header. Actually, I think he deserved it as well. I think you came out quite quick and early, and then the goalkeeper incident sort of killed it a little bit, killed the momentum you had. But you started to get back into it and get up and running. And a goal was coming. It was just a case of who's going to score. You were all over them. Iran were just sitting back and they were terrified of England. It was just a case of, and it was a bloody good header as well. That is not an easy header at all. Not long after, though, it was 2-0 this time. Saka, a small deflection, but a wonderful finish nonetheless.
Really good. Again, Maguire did well, nodding it down. I think it was possibly Luke Shaw who put that ball over as well. He had a good game, Luke Shaw. But I thought it was, I think it was a slight defection, but I do think it's all about the contact that he made. Saka made really precise, good contact with that as well. And fully deserved, by the way. He was a real threat. And for all his skills and he's got and his pace, decision making is good. You know, he knows when to pass and when to shoot. And we were going to see at the end of the game maybe somebody who's not quite as good at that sort of thing. But I thought he was really good. A beautiful technique for the goal. Yes, slight deflection, but beautiful technique with a strike.
And then it was 3-0. Raheem Sterling this time.
Beautiful technique again, Gio. Great play from Harry Kane. And they often say that. That's the old cliche, isn't it? That nobody puts a cross. No one puts a cross in quite like a striker because they know where they want it and how they want it. Not sure that's always the case. I've seen some pretty. If you ever see Lee Chapman trying to cross the ball, you'll understand that is not entirely true. That being said, it was a beautiful cross. Oh, Sterling. Oh, Sterling. Raheem Sterling was a really, really not just a good finish, but lovely movement as well. You know, it was almost like a striker's, wasn't it? Kane became a winger and Sterling did lovely striker movement there. And very good goal, actually. Very good goal.
Anyway, you went in 3-0 up at half time. I was very impressed by you in that first 45. I thought tactically, I thought Southgate got it bang on. The players, there was nobody playing poorly for England. Everybody was playing well. Yeah. The scariest thing, I guess, is I felt like there was another gear England could have gone to. They just didn't have to. But Saka was looking really, really good. Bellingham was just running the game from start to finish. He was fantastic. I thought Shaw and Trippier were positioning-wise absolutely fantastic. But what did you make of the first 45, bar being happy?
Well, I thought Bellingham was playing at his top level. I thought Saka was playing at his top level. I thought Sterling was close to it, and I thought Kane was as well. You're right. Shaw really good, and Maguire was better than I expected him to be. I think what was nice was for an England fan is there are still players in that team with more to come. There are still players who maybe weren't playing at their best, so that's good. I think when you talk about that extra gear, I think that's maybe where it was. There were, but 6 players playing well, 5 players playing well, and at the top game, particularly when they're at that quality. Kane is a world-class striker. Bellingham, if he's not a world-class midfielder, he will be in 3 weeks' time. Do you know what I mean? He's sort of there. Sterling, played Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City. These are top class players, and when they play like that, top class players, 4 or 5 or 6 of them in form, are going to be enough to really put away a team like Iran. So I was really, really pleased. But I've got to say, the start of the second half, fair play to Iran, because they'd made some substitutions, and I thought, oh, he's doing this. Carlos Queiroz has said enough's enough. I'm going to concentrate on the USA game or the Wales game or both, and we'll just keep it tight at the back. That's not what he did. He made attacking substitutions. You could see from the very start of the second half, they were pressing our backline with urgency, really pressing us and putting our backline under pressure in a way they hadn't done in the first half. And I thought that was quite admirable and probably quite good team talk to persuade a team that are 3-0 down that actually, if you press this lot, we might get a little bit of something from this game. So I thought they made it a bit more of a test in the second half.
And not for too long though, because you made it 4-0. Saka and possibly the pick of the goals from this afternoon.
Yeah, I thought it was shocking defending, to be fair, at the end, because they just stood there. Defenders stood there, but a lovely work from Sterling. So Sterling, Saka, and Harry Kane were all in tune today, weren't they? There's no doubt about that. And I thought, the way he stood it up, he drifted inside. It might have got a little deflection, all the rest of it. Which the only thing I think it might have wrong-footed the goalkeeper slightly, because it did look the first time you look at it, I think the goalkeeper was not even bothered. But I still think it was going in anyway, and I do think it was a good goal. And I was really, really impressed with Sterling's work there, actually, and allowed us, for a little while, a little bit of breathing space.
From pick of the goal to pick of the finish, this time from an Iran player, Taremi, good run behind Harry Maguire. Then the finish, though, is just fantastic, I think. Snap shot, has a quick glance, sees where Pickford is, rifles it in off the bar, and certainly causes Southgate to delay a couple of substitutions anyway, but a really good goal from him. Rashford made it 5-1. I mean, he was only on the pitch for about a minute, touched the ball 3 times, and it was in the back of the net, but a huge thing for Southgate, I guess, to put an attacker on like Rashford, who we know Rashford is a confidence player. You see it at Man United where he's out of form, his head goes down, he starts belting them from 25 yards and skying them or whatever. But when he's in form, which he has been for Man U, he's carried that into this tournament clearly. That was a composed piece of attacking play from Rashford and a really, really good goal as well. But an important one, I think, because like Rio Ferdinand was saying at half-time, it's not just about the starting line, it's about the squad. Yeah. Let's get some confidence into these players. And, Rashford's going off that pitch with a massive grin as well.
Yeah, just going back to their goal, I thought it was a nice reverse pass, actually, which it sort of bamboozled Declan, didn't know really what was going on. But what was clear, that's the difference when you know a player and you don't. Clearly, the striker knows that whoever put that reverse pass in does that. Because Maguire didn't have a clue it was happening, but the striker was really wise to it as well. I thought it was a good goal. Rashford's goal, good goal, really good goal. And for him to do it from the same side, that's sort of similar to Saka's in that sense. And I was pleased for him. I've got to say, it was a very good goal. But I thought after that, he tried too hard. So after that, there were 3 or 4 occasions when he should and could have passed it. And actually, he wanted to repeat that goal. And I looked, and actually, and this is before Wilson had scored. I was looking at it thinking, if you keep doing that, then Saka will just get the position, even no matter how well you play. It was almost like, well, Saka's got 2, I've got to get 2. But Saka is there's a wisdom with the way Saka plays. He can do that, or he's also not afraid to stand still, Saka. And I think that's a really good one. It's an awareness of space, awareness of time. So he'll just, lay it off. If only one touch is needed, Saka will take one touch. It just seemed like Rashford came on, he scored that goal, and it's all right. Right now, he has to take 6 or 7 touches every time. And I think that was. I just wanted to see him relax a little bit, but I think he was probably quite nervous. Not as nervous as the referee, but I thought he was probably quite nervous. So hopefully, it calmed some of his nerves when he gets off there big pat on the back for him. And then obviously you're going to ask, oh, hold on, was it 5-1 then? It was.
Yeah, that was 5. Then, well, you speak of nerves. Callum Wilson wasn't. How about that for composure and being unselfish?
I think it's wonderful, actually, what he did. So, whilst I was slightly critical of Rashford there, got to praise Callum Wilson for that. And well, I don't know what players do. They're all so rich. I don't know what you do, but whatever it is, Grealish owes him one. Well, I don't know whether it's champagne. I don't know whether it's a free ticket to play on Xbox Live. I don't know what the players do, but there's a gift, there's a hamper, there's something. If I was Jack Grealish, I would be giving Callum Wilson a gift of some description, because that's a hell of a thing to give up, a World Cup goal. And I think Wilson could have scored it. I think when he plays for Newcastle, he scores. But that will go a long, long way in Gareth Southgate's mind, because Harry Kane was majestic today, but because he was linking and he was creating. And I think when Southgate is putting Wilson on, he's thinking, I'm putting on a finisher here. If he can see that from Wilson, he's probably going to be more... Wilson's never going to start if Harry Kane's fit. But you know what? Against USA and against Wales, he may be more inclined to bring Callum Wilson on again because of what he's saying.
He might start against Wales if you beat USA and you've got 6 points out of 6. Southgate may say he's done it before. Southgate in these tournaments where he likes to get 2 wins in the third game, partly because he's on a look at the knockout stage, thinking I could probably do with finishing second in this group actually. But he does like to rotate it, and it's a pivotal point actually between that third match day. You can have a break between your match day 2 and then the last 16. If you can have that game off, I think that goes a really long way in helping the players' fatigue. So I think there's probably a handful of players got a small chance of starting against Wales if the other lot do it against the USA in between. I think it's very unselfish from Wilson. I disagree when you said he scores that for Newcastle. I think he squares it as well. I think he pulls it back. Yeah, I think that's why he's in the squad ahead of someone like Tammy Abraham, perhaps, where he's got that unselfish part in. Southgate's tried to build a team rather than an 11, and I think being able to come on, Harry Kane would have possibly squared that. If that was Kane, we've seen it often. And that's what Southgate wants. Southgate wants a replacement for Kane. He doesn't necessarily want a different type of striker. He wants somebody that can go on and do what Kane's doing, so he doesn't have to change his tactics. Now, obviously, that's a bit of a downfall at times because the tactics ain't working. You need to change it. I can't because my other striker is exactly the same as him. But when it's working, happy days. And I just think fair play to Callum Wilson because he's in on goal and it's a tight angle, but he's constantly checking around and not necessarily at the box. You can see him have a look at the right to make sure there's no one come down there and he's onside and stuff. Pulls it back, simple tap in for Grealish, and it'll do Wilson the world of better. They'll both get confident off that. Grealish should be thinking, buzzing, now I've got my goal. Wilson will be thinking, buzzing, I've just put it on a plate for him. I created that goal. And they should both be thinking that. They should both be thinking I've done well there because they have both done well. 6-2 penalty, Taremi scored it. I mean, you speak of wanting a little bit of controversy, you got it, because what is all this about? What is that penalty call?
I don't know. I was on the school run because what happened was in the first half they sat 14 minutes on, then they sat 10 minutes on, and then I was sort of walking through. I had to rush it. That's why we're late with the upload. I had the school run. What happens?
What happened? It was a free kick came in, and John Stones has got a hold of the player's shirt. The player's behind John Stones, so John Stones has got a hold of his shirt. He's not dragging off his back around. It's just enough to yank him a bit, and he goes down. Could he have got there? Possibly. He would have certainly challenged Pickford for it. Is that a penalty? Possibly. But Harry Maguire in the first half, that's more of a penalty than what the one was given. It's the inconsistency. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And that referee didn't want to give the pen. When you watch it, you watch the referee, goes over to the monitor, which is a mile away, goes over there. He watches it about 8 times or something. You think, come on, you're now just convincing yourself that matey boy, they're different countries, aren't they? I think this is where it's possibly going to get a bit interesting in the World Cup.
The VAR and the ref?
Yeah, because England don't have a VAR team. You won't be surprised to hear this. England don't have a VAR team there. They've got two. They've got Anthony Taylor, Michael Oliver are there as the referees, but I don't think they've got a VAR team in England. unsurprisingly. So whenever England have the game, there's going to be someone else that's in charge of all the monitors and whatever. So I think there was a Uruguayan in the VAR room. He's obviously a good pen. This guy stood there, but I don't know who this referee is. How am I meant to trust his judgment? But he's almost like had to convince himself. It was piss poor. It shouldn't have even been looked at. It wasn't a pen for me. I think it's a bit too light. But after the Maguire thing, not a chance. It's so inconsistent. It's not, it's match day 2 of the World Cup, and we've already got this thing. Now, it makes it 6-2. It's not a big deal. It's going to be very easy to ignore that, to go, don't worry about it kind of thing. But what happens if it was 1-1? What happens if it was 2-1 England going into that and he gave that as a pen? It would just be, I don't know, just strange. I don't get it. But that was the worst thing is that's an easy decision for the referee to stick to his guns. It's 6-1. You're not deciding on a match-winning penalty here. You could go over and look at it, and after 3 times go, nah, sorry, mate, I don't agree with you, actually. I'm going to stick with my original decision. Carry on.
But it's also an easy one to go the other way as well.
It is, but it was just crap. I don't like it. Anyway, finished 6-2. England, West Ham child, Declan Rice. What do you make of him?
Well, I thought he was quite poor, actually. I thought he made some mistakes today, but it doesn't matter, and it didn't matter, and we know he's got that quality. I also think it's so when you've got someone playing next to your midfield partner who's purring like Bellingham was. You just got to sit back and leave him to it as well. But I think so. It wasn't that. It wasn't that Declan Rice wasn't involved in all the wonderful stuff that Bellingham did. I think it was the giving the ball or the interceptions he got wrong, the blocks he got wrong, the bread and butter Declan Rice stuff he didn't do. And it wasn't like a West Ham game, particularly this season where we're under siege, where he's got lots of interceptions and blocks. I think going into 2 weeks ago, when I looked at the stats, I think Declan Rice was top for blocks and interceptions. I think Onana was possibly second. It was something like that. He was quite near up. Before the Crystal Palace game, Declan Rice was up there in the Premier League stats. So he has a lot of work to do at West Ham because we're a defensive team. And I think because he only had 2 or 3 blocks and interceptions today, and they sort of highlighted more, you notice it more when Declan Rice makes the odd mistake. But it doesn't. You know what? Overall, it doesn't matter, and I think that's my point, Gio. When you have Bellingham playing that well, Kane playing that well, Saka, Sterling, Luke Shaw, players like that playing so well, it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 of the England players have an off day. What is really important, though, this is massively important. I think hopefully Southgate learned something today. I'm aware it's only Iran, but for too long, England have played too defensive, and when he's had the chance, he'll play Calvin Phillips and he'll play Declan Rice. What he's seen today is what happens when you play a box-to-box and an attacking midfielder alongside a defensive one. You have some blend and you have some balance in your midfield. And that, Bellingham doing that, was what allowed that front three to really go on and sort of enjoy themselves, because they had somebody who could give them the ball in quality positions as well. I think it's really important that he doesn't revert back if and when England get through the group, which, let's be fair, we expect them to do, and so they should after a 6-2 victory. It's really important Southgate doesn't revert back to that Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips access, because that's the way forward. That's the future of England. And I think you're looking at a player who very, very soon, maybe this season at Dortmund, you mentioned that he's captain at Dortmund already, is going to be one of the dominant midfielders in Europe. He must not be put back on the bench. He's the future of England. And I say that with Declan Rice being very young, Saka being very young. There's a lot of young players in and around that squad. He must not be benched as soon as England plays a team that are perceived to be better.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I was pleased. Well, hopefully Harry Maguire is not 12-day concussed. Hopefully it was precautionary. He passes the concussion test, because I actually thought he was good. I thought he was really good. I thought he had leadership qualities. I think that's quite important as well. I mean, that being said, he was sort of culpable for their goal. Obviously not the second one because he wasn't on the pitch. Can't blame him for that. I'm sure there's some Man United fans who would. But we can't blame him for that one. I don't think he read it, but he's going to get better because he's not been playing regularly with Man United. He's gonna get better with each and every game. So I think that's important that England have him back. I think just a really, really good start. And I was pleased for Grealish as well. Pleased for Grealish and for Rashford and for Callum Wilson's involvement in that. we needed that. The World Cup needed that. I take the controversy. I totally understand what happened, but if we at the end of this game can be talking about how good Saka was, how good Bellingham was, how Luke Shaw's looking good at left back, and talking about VAR, and then talking about the referee was nervous, he was a bit overawed. That looked like a referee, by the way. I didn't think he was good today, but he looked like a referee, as I think he's from Brazil, right? In the Brazilian league, that's where he referees.
I don't know.
I think he looked like a guy who's used to refereeing games. They've got big stadiums in Brazil, don't get me wrong, but whatever, over television audiences, whatever, 3 or 4 million watching the TV or something. He looked like a guy who was suddenly aware there might be 1 billion people watching this game or whatever.
Yeah.
And he seemed nervous with it, but they're all football conversations. They're not about all the other stuff that we've been talking about. England needed that because Southgate's been perceived as negative, and he has been negative. But the World Cup needed a high-scoring game to try and focus on it, because let's be fair, it has been a crappy old build-up. But now I am a little bit more in the mood for it, mate.
England were better than I expected. Iran were a lot worse than I assumed. Who's your man of match?
Oh, Bellingham, yeah.
I'm going to give it to Saka. I thought Bellingham was really good, but I think Saka was... Every time he got the ball, I expected something to happen. On 2 occasions, something did happen. He scored, but I thought his all-round play was really, really good. And I thought his partnership with Kylian Trippier was fantastic out on that right-hand side. Of course, a lot of teams bother that pairing will, just like Shaw will with a partner on that side. Sterling played okay, but I think if there was someone in that 11 you would drop for the next game, just if you had to, I'd probably be looking at Sterling or Mount and saying, well, I think they could have perhaps done a little bit more. But
haven't mentioned Mount in this whole video. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Haven't mentioned him. We've spoken about everyone. Yeah, again, it didn't matter, did it? But yeah, I'll
no,
do
he
that.
scored 6. It's just one of them. Is that when he came on, I know when they came onto the pitch, the game was done and dusted. But Ford and Grealish were a hell of a lot more dangerous and involved than Mason Mount was for the duration of the time he was on. Still had a decent enough game, but it's one of them. When tougher opposition comes along, that might be the player to make way or something. But a very good start for your team anyway. Shall we leave it there, my friend?
Yeah, but I just want to say I have enjoyed taking a little sneaky glance at the chat, seeing Andy Walsh being mistaken for an algorithm and a bot. Somebody thinks Andy Walsh is not real. I got to say, he's been in my kitchen eating my Belgium shortbread biscuits, and not a naughty boy. He's definitely very real.